The hometown kid got himself the backup center spot. Now let's see if he can make it stick. Welcome back to another player preview in this series where I preview Portland Trail Blazers players and look at their outlook for next season. I've dropped two on Greg Brown III and Jabari Walker. There's a playlist linked in the description box below if you missed those, or just go back to the channel page. This one's going to be on Drew Eubanks, the hometown kid from Reynolds High School that went to Oregon State, that ended up playing a few seasons for the Spurs. Looked like he might have been on his way out of the league, but then got a spot on a tanking Portland team and looked okay and kept himself on the Portland Trail Blazers roster heading into next season. Now it looks like he will be the backup center. He will have to battle with Trendon Watford for those minutes, but at the very least, he's on an NBA contract. He's still in the league and he gets to play for his hometown team. Last season, Drew Eubanks played 71 games. He played 49 for the Spurs, where he only averaged 12 minutes per game, but then he played 22 for the Portland Trail Blazers, started all 22 of those, played in 30 minutes per game and averaged 14.5 points, 8.5 boards, 1.5 assists, while shooting 65% from the field, which included a whopping 67% from 2 and 27% from 3. He also shot the free throw well at 78%, and Drew Eubanks was very serviceable during the stretch for Portland, but it must be noted that this was coming against some other tanking teams, a very soft schedule that the Blazers were also tanking themselves. And now as far as the storyline for Eubanks this season, it is, can Drew Eubanks contribute to winning basketball? He's never been a big part of a winning team where he's actually had a role, and I'm not entirely sure he can be an everyday rotation player on a team that's trying to win games and reach the upper echelon in a loaded Western Conference. He's definitely good enough to play minutes here and there and be a spot minutes guy and be an insurance policy in case guys get hurt, but I'm not entirely sure he's backup center quality. He struggled earning that designation in San Antonio, where they didn't have the best teams in years prior, but because of a 22-game sample for a tanking Portland team, it now seems like he has that role, and we're going to find out whether or not he can hold that down or not, whether or not he becomes a player that the Blazers feel like they need to upgrade in the middle of the season around the trade deadline, or maybe via the buyout market. There's two areas where I think Drew Eubanks' offensive game will function well next season for the Portland Trail Blazers. That is his ability to finish around the rim and then his offensive rebounding. Let's touch on the offensive rebounding first. Last season, in 30 minutes a game for the Portland Trail Blazers, Drew Eubanks averaged 3 offensive rebounds per game. For his career, per 36 minutes, he averages 3.6 offensive boards. That is very, very good. He's somebody that follows up misses really well for putback dunks. He's an offensive rebounder. Being able to generate extra possessions for a bench unit that might have some questionable shooting is definitely going to be helpful. And if you have Jabari Walker play next to Drew Eubanks at all, then you could have some serious offensive rebounding talent there at the 4 and 5 spots. But the most impressive thing with Eubanks last year was his finishing for Portland. 67.5% from 2. He finished extremely well, and he had a lot of plays as the roll man in a pick and roll where he was able to get pocket passes or dump offs and finish them pretty consistently. Now, he's not the most athletic big, but he is athletic. He's a guy that plants his feet quickly and takes the ball strong to the rim pretty consistently. And having that type of guy on a pick and roll for the bench unit, for Anthony Simons to play with, as I think Anthony Simons will be staggered and play with the bench unit, that will be something beneficial, especially if like Josh Hart comes off the bench as well. Josh Hart and Eubanks had a little bit of chemistry last year, and having a big man that can finish strong and gets to the rim pretty quickly off the roll is a good asset to have. He's not going to do anything too flashy. His offensive game is very straightforward. He's not a super skilled big man by any means. He's just going to finish off plays when he has the opportunity. And with a Blazers team that I think has a lot of playmaking this year, having a big man like that is definitely a good thing. We don't need Drew Eubanks to shoot a bunch of threes or do anything off the dribble. We need him to finish off plays. And then also it's nice having a big man that can shoot in the mid-70s from the free throw line as well. And honestly, that's pretty much his entire offensive game. Now, he can occasionally knock down a mid-range shot, and he did shoot almost a 3 per game for the Blazers last year. I don't expect that to continue moving forward. That was a tanking Blazers team without much talent on it, so he was going to shoot some threes, and I don't think he will shoot anywhere near as many this season. I don't really like his shot. He takes his guide hand off too early. He basically shoots it one-handed without a guide hand, and it's hard to be consistent like that, but he's made it work so far. It just looks kind of weird. Maybe it works better for him. Big men with big hands, that guide hand can interfere with his shot. So that's something he's elected to do with his shooting form. I'm not saying he should change it. I just don't know how good of a three-point shooter you can become shooting the ball the way he does. So I wouldn't expect him to shoot almost a 3 per game. And if he does, he better be shooting at least 30%. Offensively, I think he's solid enough to be a backup center. What's going to determine whether he's backup center quality, I think, is going to be the defense, where he's a little bit of a question mark for me. He's not the biggest guy and doesn't seem as athletic on the defensive end as he does catching the ball off pick and rolls or flying in for putback dunks or that sort of thing. He doesn't have the best length, so I don't really trust him right now as a rim protector. Now, the bench lineup should be better defensively on the perimeter. You got Gary Payton II, probably Josh Hart, potentially Justice Winslow as well. So hopefully it's a situation where Drew Eubanks doesn't have to protect the rim a whole lot. I think Eubanks is better as a team defender and a guy maybe playing up at the point of screens, moving his feet. He has decent foot speed for a big man, and his lack of length for the position isn't as much of a problem in that scenario as it is if he's having to protect the rim and guys are coming straight at him. But I think the bench unit is going to play super aggressive on pick and rolls and just play up on the perimeter and try and force a lot of steals. I think Eubanks could be fine in that sort of situation. However, that sort of defense does lead to some breakdowns, and usually you need a bit of a rim protector behind that to help cover for those mistakes. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out on the defensive end for Drew Eubanks and the entire bench unit this season. All in all, the defensive end is going to determine whether Drew Eubanks as the backup center was the right decision or not. If he's not the right backup center, then you could see Trendon Watford getting some minutes. Watford is similarly undersized and has some of the same issues in terms of not being much of a rim protector due to it, but he has more offensive talent and can do more things with the ball. I will talk about those when I get to his player preview, but Trendon Watford definitely has a chance to steal these backup minutes from Drew Eubanks. I think whichever one of the two is going to be the better defensive player is going to be the guy that gets those minutes. You could also see Eubanks play some games and then Watford play other games. They could decide the backup center on a game-to-game basis depending on who the opponent is. If the opposing bench lineup is a little bit smaller, you could see more Trendon Watford, and then if the Blazers are playing a team with a backup center with some size, then you could see more Drew Eubanks in that sort of game. You could also see Eubanks and Watford play in some games if Nurkic gets into foul trouble or if he gets banged up, or even if Nurkic plays his usual 27-28 minutes per game, that leaves 20 minutes per game at the backup center spot that you could see split between Watford and Drew Eubanks. So it'll be really interesting to see who ends up getting those minutes and how Chauncey Billups decides who plays. Now, here are some statistical goals this season for Drew Eubanks. I have 2 efficiency goals for him. That is to shoot 60% from 2, which is far below what he shot last season for Portland. However, I think that's a bit of an outlier. For his career, Drew Eubanks shoots 60.2% from 2. So it's right in line with his career average. Just continue to be a good finisher around the rim and shoot 60% from 2. That is an efficient clip. The next goal for Drew Eubanks is to shoot 75% from the free throw line, which is also right in line with his career average. He's a career 75.3% shooter from the free throw line. So these goals are very realistic for Eubanks. It's just continuing his strengths on the offensive end in terms of efficiency that he has in previous years. Now, for the per game goals, I do on a per 36-minute basis because I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. So his per game goals are 15 points per game, which is right in line with his career average of 15 points per game per 36 minutes. 11 rebounds per game, which is also in line with his per 36 career average. And then I want to see him get 1.5 blocks and then 1 steal per 36 minutes. These are probably the most ambitious goals for his career. He's at 1.7 blocks and 0.8 steals. Last year for Portland, it was kind of the opposite though. He averaged 1 steal and only around 0.5 block per game. So if he's going to be a bit of a rim protector, he's going to need to block more shots. Rim protection isn't just blocking shots, but he wasn't good enough as a rim protector last year for Portland. He was better in previous stops. A couple of seasons in San Antonio, he actually averaged 2.3 blocks per 36 minutes. So in the past, he's been more of a shot blocker and he's a decent athlete. So it seems like he should be able able to block more shots than he did for Portland last year. We'll see if he can achieve that goal. But then for Portland, he averaged a steal per 36 minutes. I want to continue to see that happen because I think this Portland Trailblazers bench unit is going to try and force a lot of steals and a lot of turnovers, and hopefully Drew Eubanks can play a part in that. Anyway, that wraps up my player preview for Drew Eubanks. Let me know what you think about him down in the comment section below. Do you like that he seems like he's going to be the backup center next year? Would you play Trent Watford over him? Give me your thoughts. Leave a comment. I love reading them. Leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Turn on the bell button. And also check out the description. I have a bunch of stuff that I'm plugging down there for you to check out for more Blazers and NBA content. With that being said, I'm out of here. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.